My goodness me, what a day yesterday was. It started quite early in the morning. I had to get my wife to the hospital by 9 a.m. I think we got to the car park around 8:45 a.m. and then we went inside the hospital and found like a special room for like registering. I don't know about is registering the right word. It's sort of like I suppose it's like a reception at a hotel, because my wife was going to be staying at the hospital for a few days. That's just the way things happen over here. I mean, back in England, you have a child and you're often sent back home on the very same day or maybe the next day. But in Japan, or at least the hospital in Japan that my wife goes to, maybe they're all different. I'm not too sure. But it seems to be the case that they keep the new mothers in for about 5 days, unless there's some complications, and then it can be a bit longer. So anyway, there's this special room, like reception room for this, and you go in, hand over a few papers, they check them, and tell you where you need to go. We had to go back to this other like general reception desk so that I could get like some ID sort of stuff, like a badge to say that I'm a visitor in the hospital. And then we went, found the correct floor, found the correct room, and some nurse at another sort of reception desk, there are many in hospitals, aren't there, showed me and my wife to her like private room. She has like her own room that she'll be staying in during the duration of her stay. And I was told, as soon as your wife has settled in, it's time for you to leave. And I mentioned this last time as well. When my last daughter was born, that is, this hospital, and maybe it's all hospitals in Japan, I'm not really sure. They have, for me, very strict rules about visiting. I find them very strict compared to English hospitals. So I can only visit for 30 minutes a day. And I think it's once for 30 minutes a day. And that's just me alone. I can't bring my daughter as well. She's not allowed into the hospital. I don't know why, because she can go into the hospital, if we've got an appointment for her or something like that. But she can't go into the hospital at any other time. It would seem. Maybe it's in case she's ill or something, and she can, spread some germs or something like that. I suppose adults know if they're ill, so we shouldn't, visit a hospital. But maybe children don't necessarily know if they're ill. Maybe there's some rule like that. I'm not really sure. I don't believe this is a thing in England, so it's hard for me to understand the reasoning behind it. And I've certainly got sort of like a vision, like what my what's the word for it? Like an image that comes to mind is like there's a woman in hospital with a newborn baby, and then her husband comes in, and then I don't know, her other child or children come in running through the door, screaming like "mommy" or something like that, and they have a look at the newborn baby. Maybe that's just an image in my mind. Maybe it doesn't really happen. maybe they aren't allowed in English hospitals. I should check really, but I don't know. I'm pretty sure they are. Anyway, so I remember sort of feeling like, me personally, feeling very unwelcome at this hospital. Like I was sort of a nuisance, like I was just getting in the way. It wasn't like, oh, make yourself at home, feel free to use this room as often as you want or anything. It's like, as soon as your wife has settled down, get out. I mean, obviously, it wasn't put so bluntly, but that was sort of the message. And I remember this from last time. This kind of feeling that like I've got to always, be quick about things and quickly get out of there and stuff like that. So my wife had settled in, and then another nurse came in and said that she, needed to go for some like checking, monitoring thing, and this nurse said, "I'm allowed to wait in the room. Please wait in the room if you want." And I thought, well, what do I do? The first nurse just told me I should be leaving. The second one said you're allowed to wait in the room. So it was a bit confusing. And actually, I remember this happening last time as well. Like, depending on who you speak to, some people were like, yeah, okay, you can stay if you want. And some people are like, no, you got to go. So it's a bit of a weird experience. I never know if I'm who I should be listening to, and if I'm breaking some rules or not breaking some rules. But anyway, everything had finished, and my wife came back, and we talked about how we thought the day might pan out, because my wife is going to be induced, have induced labor. So that's when they give you some medicine that will make you it makes your body push out the baby. Is the best way I can explain it. I'm not 100% sure how it works. I think it might be estrogen, like a dose of the female hormone, and perhaps the body just, that's like a natural way that the body triggers the labor to begin. Maybe there's like a spike in estrogen, and then the body just goes, oh, it's time. So perhaps if you just deliver that artificially, then the labor will start. That's how I imagine it to work. I've not looked into this at all, so it's probably completely wrong. I don't know. But anyway, like I say, it was an induced labor, so we were talking about how the day might plan out. And what we were completely unsure about is how long this would take. Would it be, is it like you have the injection and then 10 minutes later the baby's here? I mean, we didn't really believe that. That sounded ridiculous. But we just didn't have a clue. We thought perhaps, we went in the morning, like I said, so we thought perhaps in the evening, or maybe in the next day, maybe the morning of the next day. And one of the nurses seemed to say the same thing. You could come in the evening, might be tomorrow morning even. So we were trying to work out what to do. My mother-in-law was looking after my daughter, and she had to go to work by 2 p.m. or she had to leave by 2 p.m. So I should have gone back home before 2 p.m. But obviously we weren't really expecting anything to happen before 2 p.m. So we were talking about the possibility of me not being there for the birth, missing the birth, which I wasn't very keen on. Obviously I'd like to see that, but more than that, I wanted to give my wife some support during that time. Anyway, I decided that I would go, not go back home. I think that was the original plan, just me driving back home, because it wasn't necessarily anything for me to do right away. And then once I got a message from my wife, I was going to go back if it happened before 2 p.m., if it happened before I had to start looking after my daughter, because like I said, I can't take my daughter into the hospital. But for some reason, I decided to stay. I said, I'll just sit in the car park, or I'll just sit in one of the waiting rooms and pass the time that way and just, hang around, like be near just in case anything happens. So it was still pretty early at this time. I think it was about 10 a.m. And I was outside. I just went back to the car and I thought, I should probably get lunch, shouldn't I? Get something just so I can be ready just in case something happens really early. So I pulled out my phone and tried to find the nearest convenience store. There was one in the hospital, and for some reason I decided against that one, and I'm still not really sure why. I think part of it was I just wanted to walk. I thought I'm going to be here till after lunchtime, and I've got a lot of time to kill, so I may as well just go for a bit of a walk, get some exercise. So the nearest one was about 30 minutes away, and I thought, don't mind walking 30 minutes or an hour there and back. That's fine, and nothing's going to happen in an hour's time. That'd be ridiculously too quick. And my wife hadn't even had the medicine at this point in time. She was just being monitored. I don't know. They must check some stats for your body. Make sure everything's okay before they administer this medicine, before they give you the drug. So I set off on my walk and got about a quarter of the way there, and then I got a telephone call from my wife, and she said that she's had the injection now. And I told her what I was doing, and just going to get some lunch and so far away, and I'll come back and all that kind of stuff. And hung up the call and then carried on walking. And as I was walking, I thought, is this a stupid thing to do? Am I going to end up missing the birth of my second daughter just because I decided to walk to a convenience store to get some lunch? And I was really, I was just trying to figure out, like, is this even a possibility? Can you have like an injection of this stuff, and then it's just like go, and it just the baby just comes out. And I was very, like pretty certain that isn't the case, but at the same time, I haven't done enough research into it to know if there is a slight possibility of that. So, I thought, no, that just can't happen. So I just carried on walking, went to the convenience store, bought what I want, got back, and I was messaging my wife as well. She was able to use her phone, so we were communicating through text messages at the same time. And she let me know that she had been given like so many milligrams of this drug, because what they do is they don't just give you like a high dosage, they give you a very small dosage, wait a while, see what happens, increase it a bit more, wait a while longer, like hours, an hour or two maybe, and then give you the next one, and then, or maybe less than an hour, maybe it's half an hour. But anyway, they just keep increasing the dosage slowly. So yes, I think there's very, very little chance of it coming ridiculously early, so soon after having an injection. But when you're in the moment, sort of like, when I was walking to this convenience store and back, I was thinking, oh, I bet it's going to happen. I bet I'm going to get back and my wife's going to say, it's too late. The baby's arrived. But thankfully that was not the case. So I'll continue the rest of the story next episode. Until then, bye-bye.